Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of The Streets of Gold. We're coming live from Welland, Ontario, and we got lots to dig into today. Thank you for joining me. I'm just excited about where in the direction the 49ers are going in. I know that this is like a recurring conversation. It seems like it's repetitive and we're going over the same things over and over, but I think that's the phase that we're at right now. With draft a week away now, I think that we really don't have a ton else to talk about except for this big trade that's gone on and some of the things that uh, some of the things that this trade implies for the future of the franchise. The bigger scope of who the 49ers are and what they are trying to do and the type of culture and team they're trying to build here. The fact is that 2 years ago, these same 49ers, a lot of the same players were 10 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl. And it was extremely disappointing to watch that game as a fan and know how close that we were. And if not for just a few plays, but those few plays were made by an extraordinary quarterback, someone who can change and flip a game within a matter of seconds. Obviously, there's weapons involved with that Kansas City offense that are very hard to mark up. This was an extraordinary defense. They were able to just score against so quickly. So give credit where credit's due. Kansas City did score when it mattered. We could get into some of the debatable calls and making these types of excuses, but as a lover of the game and someone who appreciates championship football, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to make excuses. The 49ers had opportunities to put that game away, and they didn't, and they go back to the drawing board. 2 years later, why some of the questions that I have here to answer today involve what does that look like? Why are the 49ers now in 2021 a under the radar, sneaky dark horse kind of team that's entering this season, especially because there's so many question marks at the quarterback position going into this offseason? We were almost certain that Jimmy Garoppolo was potentially not going to be the 49ers quarterback. This has been a conversation that has come up. It's a recurring thing with Jimmy. Is he the guy that's going to take them to the next level? Is he the guy that's going to win that big game? Is Jimmy Garoppolo the quarterback of the future for the San Francisco 49ers? Honestly, asking me today, I know that there's absolutely no chance that he's the future of this team. If you asked me last year, I would have stuck by Jimmy. I would have said he is the guy. That is not the direction that this team has gone. That trade that they made earlier this offseason, giving away future picks, that's a lot of capital to give up. And to now go into this draft aiming at a quarterback, and everyone thinks that they know who it is. But, I think that Kyle and them, there was a report that came out today. So let's just start with this. A report came out today saying that the 49ers aren't sure who they're going to take. They're still deciding. 8 days away from the draft, Kyle and John are sitting down in the office and they are deciding what quarterback that is going to lead their team. That's absurd. My mind will never be able to comprehend how people could possibly think that. The 49ers know the quarterback they're taking. There had to be insight given. Everybody knows Lawrence is one. Everyone knows Wilson's two. I don't even know how there's even a conversation about those two, not 1 and 2 at this point. The Jets have made it quite clear enough for those who can read between the lines that Zach Wilson's going number 2. So let's put an end to that now. the fact is that we go now into the third pick, and there's three guys on the board. There's Justin Fields, there's Trey Lance, and there's Mike McCorkle-Jones, okay? And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. We don't know who the pick is. Kyle knows who he wants, and Kyle and John and Rich, they have sat down, they've decided on their quarterback, and on the 29th, they're going to say a name that they decided on, I believe, weeks ago. So to move up that much, you know your guy. You're taking your guy, and that's the bottom line. The due diligence is something that has to take place, and it's exciting. I'm not saying it's not exciting. I'm not saying it's not exciting to speculate and wonder. I love wondering. I've enjoyed speculating. I've enjoyed the media. I've enjoyed the hype about each guy, and after the pro day, there's so much going on. These are things that I've been so excited about. I've enjoyed the process, and I'm going to enjoy the process, and I can't wait until draft night, because this is something that I may not ever see for another. When did we pick a QB last? We're looking at 16 years ago. So you know what? At this point, I'm 33 years old, and if I have to wait another 16 years, I'll be 50 years old, sorry. The next time at this rate that we pick this early in the draft, if we go based on history. So I'm going to savor up the moment and really enjoy it. So some headlines. Let's get into some headlines. Today is Wednesday, April the 21st. And it is exciting. Okay. So I saw I saw on the BR that the Raiders had waived defensive tackle Maurice Hurst, who was drafted out of Michigan. Solid player at Michigan, fell in the draft due to that heart condition, if you guys remember. And they also drafted a guy who was really, really hyped during that draft, but because of some off-field stuff and some injury stuff, ended up falling into the third round. So I thought that's really interesting. You know, Arden Key was somebody that I watched a lot of college tape on coming out of that draft. I think it's interesting now that the Raiders waive him, and within a couple days, he's visiting the San Francisco 49ers. So I just want to talk a little bit about Arden Key and what he brings to the table. So, you know, I just looked up some stats, and I know his numbers from back then, but I had some notes written down. And so Arden Key's he's a tall, long, fluid athlete, you know, and I think he brings a lot to the table. And I'm excited about this signing, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But Arden Key, in 37 games in the NFL, okay, not 37 starts, just 37 games. His snap count, I didn't look at his exact numbers for his snap counts, but they're on PFF if you really want to know the snap counts. I was on it earlier. So in 37 games, he only had 3 sacks. Okay, he had 8 tackles for loss, and he had 26 quarterback hits. Now, if you want to watch the tape and watch the film, you're going to see that Arden Key is disruptive. Okay, he may not have gotten home a lot. He also played on a really poor defense. Like the defense that he's played on, the Raiders are atrocious defensively. They are probably one of the worst defensive teams in the NFL, easily, and they normally are. So for the last 3 years, they've been atrocious. They're terrible. Like awful, god awful Raiders defense, bad. So you know what? I don't think it's Arden Key's fault. I think he's been put there in a really, really poisonous situation, and it was not been nurturing for his growth. Now we flip the table. Look at his college stats, okay? The guy in 31 games in college had 20 sacks and 24.5 tackles for loss. That's production. And I know Louisiana has great defenses, but so do the San Francisco 49ers. And that's what I want to segue into here. Arden Key is going to be a bookend to Nick Bosa. And inside, he's going to have, hey, How's it going, baby? Daddy's just making a video. Okay. All good. I'm gonna have to start again. I know.
Keep going.
Yeah.
You gonna come?
That's okay, baby. We're just gonna take a little break here. I got my daughters in here and she's pretty excited. Yeah, so anyway, sorry for the interruption. I'm just trying to add a little interruption there. Didn't want to start again, but yes. So, like I was saying, Arden Key, great production in college, and the segue is that we're gonna get into the NFL. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Arden Key is going to play. Yeah, there we go. Arden Key is going to play on a phenomenal defense. He's going to be the bookend to Nick Bosa. And inside, he's going to have Armstead and he's going to have Kinlaw. And there's some other really good players along that D front. So it's not going to be all on Arden Key. He's going to be in an environment at 24. He's turning 25 at the beginning of May. This is a guy that I think is going to turn his career around with the San Francisco 49ers and become a stud pass rusher. That's my prediction for Arden Key. Moving on to the other signing, Wayne Gullman, a guy that kind of flies under the radar. Honestly, like watch the film from Clemson, okay? This is a 4th-round guy. He comes into the NFL. He goes to the Giants. You know, the Giants are terrible at that time. Then they take Barkley. So he's kind of playing the background. He gets his opportunity last year, and he puts up decent numbers. Last year, he goes 147 for 682 yards, 4.6 per carry, 6 touchdowns. For a backup running back, that's good production. And if you go to his Clemson numbers, he goes 675 for 3,416 yards, 5.1 per carry, and 34 touchdowns. And really, his freshman year, he didn't get a ton of touches. It was his junior and senior year. That's when he really he started to shine and he was playing. Right. So 26-year-old Gullman comes to the 49ers. And I think this is the type of guy, he's 6 feet. I think he's 210. He's a mobile guy that can get yards. I think that we all would agree that Kyle can get production out of almost anybody in the backfield. And this is a guy that I think is going to fit extremely well with Mostert, Wilson, and Hasty. So I think there's going to be some competition for the starting running back position. I wouldn't rule out RB in the draft, but I really do think that this Gullman signing and this Arden Key signing were huge. And when I knew that they were visiting, I had fingers crossed that the 49ers would lock these two guys up. And I think it's fantastic. The one I'm still waiting on is Tony Jefferson. This is another guy that can play ball, man. Like, I think he's got a point to prove, a little chip on his shoulder, and coming off injury, he really wants to get out there and make a statement. So all the power to him. Like, I really believe this is another guy that we can get and add depth at that safety position. So, all that being said, I'm excited about the moves Niners are making to their roster as we speak. Let's just shift now into that quarterback mode because, we all really want to speculate. We all want to know, what are the San Francisco 49ers really thinking at QB? So after this last pro day, all the hype and all the talk has been about Trey Lance. Trey Lance. That is the number one thing, the hot topic. I heard speculation about Kyle and John visiting his family in North Dakota. I heard about Rich flying out there for some sort of meeting. I don't know. I've heard bits and pieces, seen posts that kind of pop up and then disappear. And then on Twitter, I just hear viral things, little nitpickings and stuff like that. But the thing is that I think that when it comes to Trey Lance, it's a matter of what does he bring to the table. Trey Lance is a big dude, man. He's 6'4". He weighs 225. I think he weighs more than that now. I would say he's 230 at least. And I'm going to say that the guy has an arm similar to a Josh Allen, similar to a Patrick Mahomes, that type of talent. He can really get that and then drive that ball. Like he can drive that ball extremely well. So there's some raw attributes to his game. You know, his footwork, his mechanics. He looks good throwing the ball. And I think that he has that wow factor to him. He has that edge to him. And because there's such a question mark on his competition, there's such a question mark on his accuracy. There's such a question mark on his workload. Like how much time has he really put in? How many games has he really played? How many times has he thrown? Like, does he have the experience to come in and be that guy? And my answer to those questions is I truly believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the week 1 starter. I do. I'm starting to feel more and more about confident in that. And this is what leads me to believe that the 49ers draft chance. I think that he's been the guy. I think he's the pick. I think that I'm almost certain. If you were to ask me, my gut and everything now inside of me is telling me that it's going to be Trey Lance. And for the simple reason of Jimmy's going to start, Trey is going to develop, and he's 20 years old, man, and he has immense talent. So I'm excited to see this kid develop, and I would love to see him run our offense. I think we would be a powerhouse team for a long time with a guy like Trey Lance under the helm. And the thing is that when it comes to the inaccuracy and these types of things, I wouldn't dig too deep into that kind of stuff and his competition, because you know what? Like, look at Patrick Mahomes. Just an example, okay? Patrick Mahomes, in college, he averaged over his 3 years in college, his average completion percentage, 61.7%. Okay, Trey Lance, in his 2019 season, which is really what we're going off of, 67%. You know, so when you look at guys that are coming out of college, you don't necessarily have to have that 77 like Mac Jones. You don't have to be up there. It's great if you are. But Trey Lance wasn't throwing the ball to elite guys either. And he dominated at his level. Like, he was a dominant quarterback. He was running for over 1,000 yards. He had over 40 touchdowns and no turnovers. That's incredible. In that 2019 season, he didn't give the ball away. I think Kyle appreciates ball security. I think Kyle appreciates arm talent, size. Listen to that press conference. He said a few things in there that it make me believe that Trey Lance is the guy. And so going forward, I really want to focus in on the fact that we could end up with a future, I don't know, would be a guy like him, because I think that he brings something to the table that may even be better than some of these guys that we're talking about. I don't know. We won't know until he's in an NFL uniform. But Wilson, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, I think that. So I really believe that we have to focus in on the fact that the 49ers are headed in the right direction. And the 49ers are